That is so gross. Let's talk about it today.
Yes, I did.
Okay, guys. Yesterday I kind of mentioned in passing that I was gonna post a new science video today, and one topic that we didn't get to see in the classroom before we had to go out of the school was the topic of life cycles and metamorphosis. I know that you kind of got something in third grade, but we're gonna expand on that today, and we're gonna learn about what life cycles are and the two main types of metamorphosis. Let's go to it. So here's the thing: every living organism has a life cycle. And a cycle it's something that repeats itself or that gets repeated over and over and over. So all organisms have a life cycle, and they look different depending on the organism. But every life cycle has three main things that happen in every organism's life. We're born, we reproduce, we make more of each other, of ourselves, and then we die. Okay, those are the three things that are common to any organism's life cycle. Now, when we talk about life cycles, we talk about change, because an organism, when it's born, it looks very different to what it's going to look in the middle of its life cycle, and it looks very different to how it's going to look at the moment of dying. So we go through a change in our life cycle, and there's a science word, a vocabulary word for change when we talk about life cycles, and that word is metamorphosis. Okay, so metamorphosis means change. So there are two main types of metamorphosis, of changes, depending on the organism. And we're gonna see a short video. I'm gonna react to it, and you're gonna find out what complete metamorphosis is and what incomplete metamorphosis is. And then we're gonna see an example of each of those life cycles or each of those changes. Okay, let's go.
Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is the process of dramatic change in the life of an organism. One type is called complete metamorphosis.
So when she said genetic change, again, she means that an organism is born, and through the life cycle of that organism, it changes. Okay, it changes form, it changes shape, it may change structure. Okay, and that's what she means when she talk about genetic changes.
Complete metamorphosis begins when an insect, like a butterfly, lays an egg. The egg hatches into a worm-like creature called a larva. A caterpillar is the larva stage of metamorphosis in a butterfly. The job of the larva is to eat and store energy. Next, the larva makes a pupa. During the time in the pupa, the organism develops complex organs, then emerges as an adult butterfly.
Okay, so the first metamorphosis that we're gonna see is complete metamorphosis. And the reason why it's called complete is because you can see a complete change from the moment it started to the moment it ends. So complete metamorphosis starts with an egg, right? And then that from that egg, when that egg hatches or opens, a larva emerges. It's a tiny larva, right? And the purpose of that larva, we're gonna see in another video, is basically to eat and gain energy and acquire energy. And the only way that they can gain energy is by eating and eating and eating and eating. So it eats a lot, and it grows and grows and grows. And in the case of butterflies, that larva becomes a caterpillar. I'm pretty sure that you've seen them on the grass or on leaves. It's like a big larva, right? But the larva is what comes out of the egg, and as it begins to eat and gain size, it becomes a caterpillar. Now that caterpillar, when it's ready to do so, forms a cocoon, In the case of butterflies, some butterflies, it's also called a chrysalis. Okay, cocoon, chrysalis, and pupa. Those are the three names that we know that third step. And then from that pupa, inside that pupa, that caterpillar turns itself into an adult, and it develops organs and structures, high performing structures. And when it's ready, that adult comes out and goes on to live the rest of its life cycle, which basically is eat, reproduce, and then die. Okay, so let's see the second one.
A grasshopper goes through a different type of metamorphosis. The other type of metamorphosis is called incomplete metamorphosis. This type of metamorphosis starts with an egg. The egg hatches into a nymph. The nymph looks like an adult insect, except it may be lacking organs such as wings. As the nymph grows, it will shed its exoskeleton during the process of molting. A grasshopper may molt several times before becoming a fully developed adult.
Okay, so the second type is incomplete metamorphosis. And again, it's called incomplete because you don't see that big of a change. The egg hatches, and from the egg comes like a miniature adult. It's like a mini-me of the adult, right? A tiny adult, and it's called a nymph. Now, that adult is gonna keep growing in size, and some of them develop other structures like wings. Their legs get bigger. And so we call those steps nymphs. Nymph 1, nymph 2, nymph 3. And the last nymph, when it's ready, turns into an adult. But if you look at the adult and you look at the first nymph that came from the egg, they look very similar, and there was never a larva stage, or there was never a pupa or a chrysalis. That's why we call it incomplete metamorphosis. And a grasshopper is an example of an incomplete metamorphosis. Okay, good. Oh, by the way, every time a nymph changes, it molds or sheds its skin because it's growing in size. And so the skin is a protective cover that they need to, it's like a jacket that it doesn't fit anymore. So they have to get rid of that jacket, and they make a new one, okay, for the new size. Okay, let's finish up.
Other organisms, like frogs, go through metamorphosis as well. Frog eggs hatch into tadpoles. As the tadpole grows and develops, it starts to lose its tail and grow legs. All types of metamorphosis start with an egg. However, complete metamorphosis has a larva and a pupa stage. Incomplete metamorphosis has a nymph stage. And both types end with an adult.
So this Venn diagram, guys, is super important because it tells us how both metamorphoses are similar and how they are different. And as we can see, if I talk about the egg stage, you can tell me both have an egg stage. That's why it's in the middle of the Venn diagram, because incomplete metamorphosis and complete metamorphosis, they both start with an egg. Now, the only one that has a larva stage and a pupa stage or chrysalis is the complete metamorphosis, and the only one that has nymphs is the incomplete metamorphosis. But then again, they both have an adult stage. Okay, so this, take a mental picture of it, draw it at home, and draw it very big in a sheet, and hang it from your bedroom wall. Okay, I want to see that. Send me a picture of that.
The adult is fully developed and can lay eggs to start the life cycle all over again. Metamorphosis.
Okay, guys, so this was the first video on metamorphosis, and with this we kind of have a general idea, a good idea of the differences between complete metamorphosis and incomplete metamorphosis. Okay, good. So the first video we're gonna see, it's a very short video. I'm not gonna pause it, I'm not gonna react to it, I just want us to see it. And it's the complete metamorphosis of a butterfly. By the way, it's by National Geographic. I love videos from National Geographic. Watch as many of them as you can. And after the video ends, we're gonna see an example of an incomplete metamorphosis. And again, I'm not gonna stop the videos and I'm not gonna pose any questions, because what I want is for you to watch these 2 videos with me and then head on to Google Classroom to answer some questions that I'm gonna post there. Okay, well, let's see. Mysterious music. I love these videos. Ah, look how cool. They're eating machines. All they do is eat. This is the pupa or chrysalis. Check it out now. Super cool. Okay, so this was an example. Obviously, it was high speed because it takes some time. But this was an example of a complete metamorphosis, and in this case, it was a monarch butterfly. And we're gonna talk a lot more about monarch butterflies. And one detail I wanted to share with you is that very often, mama butterflies will lay the eggs on the underside of leaves. Not on the top side, on the underside of leaves, right? And I'm curious to see if you guys know why. Okay, there are 2 main reasons why they do it on the underside of leaves. And if you know the answer to that, post it in the comments. And if you don't know the answer, I'm gonna post a reading for you in Google Classroom. Okay, so let's head to the next video. Okay, so this is not going to be a National Geographic video. It's a different kind of video. There's a lot of information being said. The information is presented to us by an entomologist. An entomologist is a person who studies insects for a living. Okay, so check it out. By the way, it's the incomplete life cycles of bed bugs. Ew. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm Shep, one of the friendly board certified
Hey,
entomologists with Rose Pest Solutions. And we're going to look at how to identify bed bugs. You've seen the pictures, but do bed bugs really look like that in their natural setting? We've all seen insects, but if you're not used to looking at insects, they can kind of all look the same. Let's get some close-ups of what bed bugs look like and some idea of how big they really are. Let's start with the eggs. They're not microscopic as is often reported, but they're very small. They're very little. They're tiny. They're they're teeny little things. Here we have a couple of eggs amongst some grains of salt, so you can get some idea of what size they really are. They are so small as to be overlooked. Generally.
Oh, so these are the eggs. These are grains of salt, so you can have an idea. Wow. Okay, cool.
They're white, but they show up pretty well on a dark background. The eggs are tiny, and the first little stage out of the egg is just as tiny. First instar nymphs can be almost impossible to see. They go through 5 stages. So a first instar nymph is the first stage out of the egg. A second instar nymph is a little bigger yet. Third instar nymphs starting to attain some size. Fourth instar nymphs
You see
are
them
bigger
growing?
yet. The little black smudge you see in there is actually the remnants of a blood meal in their gut. These are adults.
Oh, how cool.
3/8 of an inch. They're pretty easy to see. This is a cast skin. Bed bugs grow by molting. They
That's
cast
the
off
shed
a
skin.
and the bed bug that comes out swells a little bigger, and thus bed bugs grow stage by stage. Nasty little parasites.
So a parasite, that word that he used in the end, it's an organism that to survive has to feed from another organism. And oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, always, a parasite will damage the organism that he's living from, okay? Viruses are parasites, so that's why this coronavirus is so difficult and so difficult to handle and so dangerous. Okay, so this was an example of incomplete metamorphosis, and you could see the nymphs growing in size. They basically didn't change except in color and size, right? And every time they grew, they shed skin. So here's what you're gonna do. I want you to head now to Google Classroom. There's gonna be a reading for you there. Okay, this is not due this week, this is due next week. You're gonna have a reading there, complete and incomplete metamorphosis. Okay, I'm gonna leave it as an open assignment. It's not gonna have a due date, so as soon as you finish, you can turn it in so that I can see that you turned it in. Remember, you can take pictures, you can make drawings, and you can attach them as Google documents or even pictures. Okay, and that's it for today. Metamorphosis, complete, incomplete, life cycles. Okay, see you. Peace.